Too many leaders feel like they have to sacrifice their own well-being to support others, but that's backwards. We need to stop pretending that we can compartmentalize stress. Work stress affects life, and life stress affects work. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're sending a message to your team. And that message is, your personal health, well-being, and resilience are not valued here. G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lead on Purpose. My name's James Middleton, and I've spent the last 20 years leading teams of all shapes and sizes, from the Australian Air Force through to the private sector. Now I help organisations develop ethical and purposeful leadership at every level. I also help you become the leader that you want to be. I dive into real-world leadership challenges and bring you inspiring stories from real leaders to help you develop practical strategies to help you lead with confidence, clarity, purpose, and today, happiness. Today's episode is all about the importance of looking after yourself as a leader. I'm going to unpack how your own well-being and happiness influence your ability and your capacity to lead effectively. Your well-being is your own responsibility. So I'm going to explain 3 things that you can start doing right now to help take control of your own well-being. And if you stick around all the way to the end of the episode, I'll give you a bonus tip to help you fit all the pieces together. Happiness and well-being go hand in hand. Happiness isn't a luxury. It's not a nice to have. It's a performance multiplier. When you're happy, not just fine, but genuinely fulfilled, you think more clearly. You communicate more effectively. You handle stress with more resilience, and you inspire trust and energy in your team. And when you're not happy, when you're not fulfilled because, once again, your own well-being has slipped down the priority list, you feel it, your team feels it, and everyone shifts from thriving to just surviving. Too many leaders feel like they have to sacrifice their own well-being to support others, but that's backwards. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't lead effectively if you're running on fumes. Research from the Harvard Business Review shows us that leaders who report higher levels of personal well-being are 23% more likely to be inspiring to their teams. And Gallup's global workplace study found that employee engagement is directly tied to the emotional state of their manager. So with those statistics in mind, don't you want to take control of your own well-being to be the best leader you can be? That starts with looking after yourself so that you can show up and give your best every single day. Your well-being, both at home and at work, is your responsibility, no one else's. Not your boss, not your team, not your partner or your family. This is where I found myself about 6 years ago. For those of you watching the video version of this podcast, there will be a photo on the screen now that has been described as haunting and that I honestly struggle to look at these days. I'd been out of the Air Force for a few years and was working a job that I really enjoyed. But between the long hours, the long commute, the stress of renovating a house and striving to be the best husband and father that I could be to my 6-month-old son, the stress and fatigue just got me down. I was trying to be everything to everyone, and because I neglected my own well-being, I ended up being unable to give anything to anyone. If you're not looking after yourself, you can't look out for others. But let's be clear, you are not responsible for other people's well-being just as they aren't responsible for yours. You can support them. You can encourage them. As a leader, you should create space for them, but you cannot carry their emotional load. Remember, leadership is influence, and you can't not influence. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're sending a message to your team. And that message is, your personal health, well-being, and resilience are not valued here. And that message spreads like a virus, and it infects the culture. The first thing I want you to do is start to build self-awareness. Reflect and understand how your work and your personal environment are affecting you. Personally, I've found there's no such thing as work-life balance anymore. At best, we have work-life flow, where work and life move between each other to whatever's the highest priority. But for small business owners and an increasing number of leaders, work is life and life is work. That's not a bad thing, it's just reality. But we need to stop pretending that we can compartmentalize stress. Work stress affects life, and life stress affects work. So check in with yourself regularly. If you're feeling the signs of unhealthy stress like mental fog and irritability and fatigue, do something about it. And that starts with number 2. Practice self-compassion. Give yourself a break when you make mistakes or don't meet your own high standards. None of us are perfect. High-achieving, empathetic leaders are often really good at forgiving others, but rarely extend that same grace to themselves. They become their own worst critic, and that compounds external stress with internal stress. This cycle affects your performance at work and your relationships at home. Remember, leadership is a lifelong journey of learning. You will never be perfect because perfect isn't real. So strive for consistent effort, consistent intent, not perfection. When you make a mistake, give yourself a break. By doing that, you're not just helping yourself, but you're showing your team that it's okay to be human. And humans need to look after themselves, to recharge and build resilience. Which brings us to number 3. Commit to self-care. There's no magic formula for self-care. Your needs are unique, and all it takes is intentionally doing things that improve your physical, mental, and emotional state. Exercise isn't just about fitness. It's one of the most powerful tools that we have to manage stress and improve mental health. When you move your body, you release endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that reduce pain and help boost your mood. But exercise also lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and that improves our ability to regulate emotions. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour gym session. It can be a lunchtime walk in the sun and fresh air. It can be a bike ride on the weekend with your friends and family. More isn't always better. The key is movement, consistent, enjoyable movement in whatever form that suits you best. Fuel your body and your mind by eating well. Prioritize real quality food, but don't be restrictive. Your diet shouldn't be another source of stress. Eating less junk food is a good thing, but counting every calorie might just be doing more harm than good. Food should be fuel and fun. So sharing an indulgent meal with your friends and family is part of culture, and it creates a real opportunity for human connection. So eat with intention, not obsession. Get some rest. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a biological necessity. When we sleep, our brain processes emotions, it consolidates memory, and it restores our energy. Stress stunts sleep, and lack of sleep amplifies stress in a vicious cycle. Poor sleep affects your ability to concentrate, make decisions, and regulate your mood. And as a leader, that's a problem, because your team relies on your clarity, your calm, and your presence. So get some sleep. Protect your rest like you should be protecting your calendar, because without it, everything else suffers. And finally, have some fun. This is the one that gets forgotten all too often, but it's just as important as sleep and exercise. Do things that make you feel alive, that connect you with friends and family. Laugh and be silly. Do things just for the sake of doing them. Fun helps us reset. It reminds us that life isn't just about deadlines and reports and spreadsheets. It's about connection, creativity, and joy. And when we have fun, we build emotional resilience. We recover faster from stress, which means we can show up with more energy and optimism. Leading well starts with looking after yourself. So look after yourself so that you can look after others. Start with these 3 things. Build self-awareness. You can't compartmentalize stress, so reflect and understand how your work and personal life are affecting you and each other. If things are getting overwhelming, do something about it. Practice self-compassion. You're your own worst critic, so give yourself a break. Leadership isn't about perfection, it's about consistent effort and intention. Commit to self-care. Intentionally do things that improve your physical, mental, and emotional state. Exercise, eat well, get some rest, and have fun. And here's the bonus tip, because you stayed to the end of the episode. Do everything in moderation. The story from earlier in the episode, where I showed you that photo, was me not doing things in moderation. I tried to solve my problems by doing more exercise with fewer calories and absolutely no fun. More isn't necessarily better, and I was living proof of that fact. So I challenge you to strive for moderation and balance, not excess. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Lead on Purpose. If this episode gave you something to reflect on or helped you be a better leader, let me know about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend or colleague who wants to be a better leader. And remember, leadership isn't a title, it's a choice. So make that choice and continue to lead on purpose. My name's James, and I'll see you next time.